Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bobcat Corner. This is a nice little corner in the foothills of the Appalachia. I'm your host, Stephen Vitz, and if you guys have not subscribed already, please do. That helps me out. Click the notification bell and all that so you can get updates. And let's get right to it. This is episode number 71 of Bobcat Corner, and this is going to be more of a straightforward kind of episode. Three important topics that I want to discuss that involve college football, college sports in some way. And for the record, the upcoming game between the Ohio Bobcats and the UMass Minutemen, I'm still going to cover that, in a discussion for Bobcat Corner Live, like I always do after that game, which is the morning after Wednesday. Wednesday the 19th, still going to do a Bobcat Corner Live, but I'm not going to go in depth about that game because, by all intents and purposes, we should be able to take care of our business and beat UMass. So I'm not going to concern myself with that right now. But the topics I will concern myself with, and I hope you guys will follow along, will be starting with this. Um, Shout out, first of all, shout out to Eric Boggs of the College Huddle. The guy who runs the show there, the College Huddle, he came up with a very interesting topic, and he made a video about it, talking about Joey McGuire of Texas Tech, basically in some roundabout way slamming Notre Dame, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, for their schedule. And apparently, Joey McGuire was in some way taking shots at Notre Dame, you know, talking up to the competition because his team had just beaten BYU, another good football team right now, uh, Big 12 competition and all that. And so Joey McGuire, he said what he said because he wants to talk up to the competition. He knows that Notre Dame is a threat as far as the college football playoff goes, and there is a likelihood, as long as Notre Dame keeps winning, there is a likelihood that Texas Tech and Notre Dame are going to cross paths, and probably in the first round of the college football playoff, the 12-team playoff. So McGuire made his comments comparing BYU and Notre Dame, and in the in the background behind the scenes, BYU and Notre Dame fans fans of both those schools, they've been going back and forth about whose sports programs are better and yada yada and all that. So Eric Boggs of the College Huddle, he just made a point that there's really nothing wrong with what Joey McGuire said. Say what you will about Texas Tech, and you know they're obviously buying up talents for their players and coaches. I mean, they got a lot of money behind them right now. Texas Tech, that's no secret right now. And obviously, when you have so many resources to work with, you end up getting a lot of criticism. You end up getting a lot of backlash for that. Uh, Sometimes it's very understandable. But the point of what Joey McGuire was trying to say for his comments, if you go back and just listen to the video Eric Boggs made, the point that Joey McGuire was trying to make was that yeah, you have to keep aiming for higher levels. You have to keep raising the bar, and McGuire knows that the bar right now is set at Notre Dame. That's where he has to take his team, Texas Tech. So in generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with making comments that are directed at schools when you're basically calling out schools, hence the title of this episode. Um, so Texas Tech is pretty much, for now, is pretty much done it all in the Big 12 this year. They've taken down their competition in the Big 12, so why wouldn't you start talking about other schools such as Notre Dame? Um, I understand it. I completely understand it. Why Joey McGuire would make those comments. That it's not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. It's just being a straight shooter. It's just being honest with how you feel about your team and where you want to take your team. And knowing where Texas Tech is going, there's a likelihood that they're going to make it to the college football playoff, even as an at-large team. But I think it's very likely they're going to win the Big 12 conference with the way they're playing right now. But yeah, I generally speaking, I don't see anything wrong with what Joey McGuire said. and it's just another example of people taking things out of proportion, taking things out of context. So yeah, I don't have any problems with what Joey McGuire said in his comments towards Notre Dame. It's just a competition kind of thing, guys, and you have to understand that. I mean, yeah, you can not approve of what Texas Tech is doing when it comes to economics, how they're managing their resources. I mean, they got so much money right now; they're buying up talent. I get it, but the comments themselves that Joey McGuire made, I don't think, at least I don't think they were out of bounds. I think it was okay for him to say it. You got to do something to fire up your team. So I don't see where he went wrong with his comments. So yeah, if I missed anything, please let me know in the comment section below. But if you just go back and listen to what Joey McGuire himself said, I don't see anything wrong with what he said. At least not on the surface, I don't. So yeah, again, shout out to Eric Boggs of the College Huddle for bringing this to my attention because I watched that video of Eric's. He did a great job, by the way. Great job, Eric. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think at the comment section below. I see nothing wrong with what Joey McGuire said. So let's just move on to the next topic. And this is going to be, yet again, another serious topic that I'm going to talk about because this is like the tone of the episode here, guys. More of a serious tone. Um, I'm sure you guys know about the gambling scandal that's been causing a lot of stirs lately, especially with the NBA, professional basketball. NBA gambling scandal that's been, you know, taking up news headlines lately, last couple weeks. Um, Pretty serious stuff, if you ask me. Um, and I just got to wondering, okay, what are some videos here on YouTube that are covering this from an outsider's perspective? And then I came across this guy, a former, keyword, former mob guy, former mafia member. His name is Salvatore Gravano. His nickname is Sammy the Bull. No relation to Buffalo University, by the way. No relation to the University of Buffalo. Not that bull. But Sammy the Bull, his nickname, Salvatore Gravano. Watch this one video of his, which I'm going to link in the description box below. Um, Sammy Salvatore, he came out swinging with this video. I normally don't watch videos like his, but this one video got my attention, and he was just telling it like it is, like any former mafia guy would say. I have a quote here that I wrote down. Whenever there's crime, there's going to be people, and that rings true. It doesn't matter what kind of walk of life you have, whether you're super rich or you're super poor. Um, if you have that desire to gamble away money, you're going to do it, at least for some people. And for me, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those people that bets on anything. I have plenty of friends in that cover college sports here on YouTube that go about betting on sports, and that's fine. I mean, that's their thing. That's what they want to do, and that's totally fine by me. But for me personally, Stephen Vitt, I don't do any of that. I don't bet on anything, so that's why I don't really pay attention to money lines and stuff like that. But I know it happens. I know it goes on. But it is concerning, guys, that when you have something like this, like the NBA gambling scandal, an FBI investigation, the government gets involved, and all this crap happens where it gets to be such a mess in the mainstream media. And you know how mainstream media likes to twist everything to push a narrative. I'm not going to get into that, but the main point that I want to bring out here for this topic, guys, is that the integrity of a game, maintaining the integrity of a game. And you always see it in the background of my videos, that painting I made where it says integrity. Well, here it is. You have to maintain the integrity of a game. When you have stuff like prop bets, fixing games, you have these little micro bets, prop bets, whatever you call them. Um, it gets way out of hand after a while. It really highlights how how loose things can get when you get into the gambling arena. You just bet on anything. They come up with all sorts of stuff that you can bet on. It's like, oh, how many points is this guy going to score? It's like, oh, how many minutes is this guy going to be in for a game? Or, oh, he's going to make a field goal. He's going to kick a field goal or miss it. Or, oh, he's going to pass for 300 yards or whatever it is in the case of football. Um, you get to these kind of like multi level betting, and it gets to be a mess after a while. I mean, and I'm not even talking about the average Joe or Jane person. I'm talking about when you get to the athletes themselves, especially on the college level, it gets problematic. And this is why back in the day, the NCAA was trying so hard to crack down on stuff like this. And I know about the NCAA, they don't do their jobs well at all. Okay. I'm not defending the NCAA at all, but this is what they were trying to do back in the day. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, now we have the College Sports Commission in place for this new look college sports landscape. And I'm being honest with you guys, I still don't trust this new governing body to do the right thing, especially when it comes to something like this with gambling. There's so much money involved. I guess the another point I'm trying to make here when discussing this video made by Salvatore Gravano is that there's so much money involved, not just in the professional ranks, but also in the college ranks as well. You hear it all the time that so much money is being raised for NIL, private equity, private capital deals, um, all the media deals with ESPN, Fox, and all those other networks. There's so much money at stake here, guys. So when you get to that, when you start crunching numbers like that, and then you start having all this other stuff come in with gambling, where so much money is being thrown around, it gets problematic. And I think it's going to become such a big problem that it's just going to get out of anyone's control. And then once again, you're probably going to have an FBI investigation, the government gets involved, and then you have a huge mess on your hands. And then the mainstream media reports it, and it's like, oh, why didn't you think of this when you started doing this? Um, yeah, it's like, I guess what I have to wrap this part up is this. I don't want to see any sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, name the sport, I don't care. I don't want to see the integrity of a sport be compromised, and not to such a degree where I'm starting to question everything I'm seeing, where I'm starting to question the actions taken on the field of play or the court or whatever it is. I need to believe that what I'm seeing playing out in a game is accurate and not being manipulated or staged or compromised, that the players that are playing the game are not fixing it, that they're not trying to please other people for bets. It better not get that way. Uh, we need some sort of regulation. Um, what that regulation is, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to get done for regulation. How do you regulate this? I mean, you can't make it illegal because gambling has been made legal, recently in recent years. So gambling's here. It's not going anywhere. But what do you do about it? You have to have some form of regulation, and especially if you're going to play the games, if you're going to be an athlete for any sport, you cannot get caught up in this. You cannot get caught up in this. It's one thing if your cousin or your family member or some friend who doesn't play sports, it's one thing if they get into gambling, okay, but don't let it affect you because you have a job to do. You have a responsibility to take care of your business as an athlete, to maintain your own integrity as a person, as a player, and to maintain the integrity of the university that you play for or whatever team that you play for. You have to hold up that integrity. Integrity should mean something to you. And if it doesn't, then you're in the wrong business, guys. If you're not in the business of maintaining your own integrity, you're in the wrong business. If gambling means that much to you, then you shouldn't be playing on the field. That's all I'm going to say. So it's a dangerous trap to be in when it comes to betting. And that's why for me, just as an average Joe person, that's why for me, I don't even get into it. It's just a slippery slope, too much so of a slippery slope. And that's why I don't do it. That's why I don't get into gambling because it can be an addiction. I'm just going to be blunt with you guys. It can be an addiction. And if it's not monitored, if it's not controlled, you're going to have issues like this. It's just sad. It's just sad because we've had stories way back when historically about guys like Pete Rose, the late Pete Rose for baseball. He got banned from Major League Baseball for doing this thing, for betting on the game. Um, he, what he did was wrong. Don't get me wrong about it. What Pete Rose did was wrong back in the day, but how he was treated afterwards, that was wrong too. I'm just going to say that. But also the 1919 Chicago White Sox, they were called the Black Sox with their own scandal. Uh, yeah, betting on the game and just betting on themselves to lose so they can get more money, that's ridiculous. But that's what I mean. I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope we're not already at that point with college sports. College athletes had better be awake when it comes to this and not fall into this trap of betting. That's all I'm trying to say. And I worry. I do worry about the integrity of sports in general, whether pro or college. I worry about the integrity of sports when it comes to gambling, when you're throwing all this money around and all the other factors that I just mentioned: NIL, private equity, capital, a lot of money here, guys. It's just be careful. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to take a little break. I'll be right back to talk about another topic here. Uh, just stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. So the last part of this episode, episode 71 of Bobcat Corner, is simply this: take MACtion, and yes, pun intended for that. But I want to describe to you guys, want to explain to you guys the thing behind this. Take MACtion, find new business strategies. Um, I have talked about it before in previous episodes, not lately, but in previous episodes of Bobcat Corner, where I was discussing what the Mid American Conference can do to better themselves from the economic standpoint when it comes to their finances. You can go back to some previous episodes back in the day when I really talked about this, when I really hammered down the point of what I feel the MAC should do to better themselves as a conference. So let's just get right to it. I want to preface this by showing you a graphic, which you're seeing right now on the screen, which says, of course, take action, find new business strategies. And I'm going to start with a quote that I read from one fellow Ohio Bobcats fan, MDWST of BobcatAttack.com, the message boards there. Uh, he goes like this: if you want to illustrate just how far off we are from competing in the Big 12 conference, even though it's become fairly common for us to beat up the bottom and middle, keep this figure in mind: $100 million. dollars. That is West Virginia's athletic budget, the West Virginia Mountaineers. 109 million to be more specific. They rank at the bottom of the Big 12. OU's, Ohio University's, is $35 million. dollars. Now, it's clear when you see this graphic what a big issue happens to be for Ohio University, for the Ohio Bobcats, not just for their football program, but for any other sport that they compete in. Uh, their athletic budget is very small, just like most Mid American Conference teams are right now. They stand at $35 million dollars with their operating budget for their payroll, whatever you want to call it. And so I pitched this 35 million dollars in red and then $56 million dollars question mark in green right below it. In parentheses here, I state this: create a 60% increase in Ohio University's budget payroll by the 2030s. But how? That's the question that I propose because I believe eventually it's not going to be an overnight process, but I do believe eventually that it has to be some sort of plan for Ohio University if they're going to stay competitive in the grand scheme of things on the highest level, especially in football. We have to have a larger budget to work with. And $35 million dollars right now, as we are at right now, it's not going to cut it long term. And as I will also show you with another graphic coming from bobcatattack.com again, might as well read this. In light of what just happened to us, we lost to Western Michigan, 17-13. So coming from that thread, official Game 10 thread, Western Michigan, Diamond Cat, another fellow Bobcat, he had this to say. I'm going to read what he said. Pretty much everything has been covered in this thread. I wasn't sure if the Western Michigan University defensive stats before last night were real or just against bad teams. Well, sure got my answer last night. Western Michigan's no joke with their defense. Before the game, Marty Bannister, he means, chatted with the other play by play guy for Western Michigan. He asked him what has made the team so good. And the other guy, he said two words: transfer portal. And that is the thing that I've noticed lately in previous years, especially this year, that Ohio, let's be honest, Ohio University was fairly quiet in utilizing the transfer portal, as opposed to Western Michigan, for example. Continuing on here, I think they have the best starting front seven as well as overall depth of their front seven, meaning Western Michigan. Of those 14 players, 9 are transfers, including our boy Joey Benson. Dude has been at Utah, UConn, Utah again, BYU, and now Western Michigan. With no rails around this portal nonsense, which it is nonsense, we just have to keep trying to get what we can out there in the open market. I'm not sure if any of you can confirm. Western Michigan received the largest donation in history to a public university several years ago. It came from one. It came from one anonymous alum who donated $550 million. You get that, guys? $550 million. That's a lot of money. It was to be used for many things, but football was listed as among those. Is this a bucket Western Michigan can use for NIL? I realize $550 million would not just be for football, not just for that. I think the medical school was listed as well as others. I am just saying that is a big bucket to divide up over the 10-year period specified. Maybe that had some impact on the fourth or fifth year seniors, grad students they were able to snatch in the transfer portal. So I want to highlight all that for you guys because it really has gotten my attention as to what's going on here with competitive play and what schools can do to stay competitive when it comes to economics. And hence, that's why I made this graphic here, take MACtion. And going back to this, you'll see two charts down there in the bottom left corner. Where the money goes, where the money comes from. That's those. These are 2024 stats, specifically for the MAC as a conference. And I'm going to link this specifically. And I find this to be a good source. It's called nightnewhousedata.org. It's a good source for if you want to get anything economically speaking for these schools and conferences. Follow along with me if you guys can. So where the money comes from, we're going to start there first. We're talking about expenses and revenues. We're going to start with the revenue part, the green part. So $435.09 million in revenues, where the money comes from for the MAC. Certain things I want to list here that jump out at me for revenues: corporate sponsorship, advertising, and licensing. That amounts to, for 2024, $11.93 million, rounded off to $12 million. That's revenue generated by the institution from royalties, licensing, advertisement, and sponsorships. So that was an interesting stat. And another one here is donor contributions. Now, donors play a good part in allowing schools to be more competitive. It helps. Donor contributions here, funds contributed from individuals, corporations, associations, foundations, clubs, or other organizations external to the athletics program above the face value for tickets. That amounted to 29.51 million, so $29.5 million. And one more stat I'm going to point out. There are many to point out here, but I'm just going to limit it to three for revenues. Ticket sales. That has been a big thing for me when it comes to Mid American Conference schools and how they're doing at the gate. It's one thing to do well with your TV media deal, but how are you doing at the stadium? That also has an effect on what you're doing competitively. Ticket sales, revenue received from ticket sales for all NCAA sponsored sports as at an institution, that amounts to only $12.56 million, 12.5 million. That is more of a troubling stat for me because if you're really thinking about it, guys, that number should be quite a bit higher than 12.5 million, and that's for revenues. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's really troubling, even from the revenue side of it. So you flip that over, go to the other part where the money goes. These are the expenses. The total expenses amount to 437 point 437.33 million. Hold on a minute. 725.07 million. So that was like caught my attention right there. So it's just you have like 200 million in excess transfers back. That's just really really alarming here. So now when it comes to strategies, I I'm really hoping that, especially with the addition of Slade Larshide uh, becoming our new athletic director for Ohio University, I'm hoping that he already has an understanding of this. He manages finances well, from what I hear, considering his track record. But I'm hoping he understands right away what we need to do to stay competitive and to keep swinging, to keep punching above our weight level, so to speak, our weight class. Uh, we got to have more. We have to have more resources than what we have right now. $35 million is not going to cut it, and we have to find a way to increase our budget by 60%, seemingly, to get to $56 million. Now, there's no way you can get to West Virginia's kind of budget at 109 million. Forget about that. But as far as Mid-American Conference schools go, you got to get to something like $56 million. So how do you do that? That's up to the university to decide. That's up to Ohio University themselves to decide how they're going to do it, how they're going to manage those finances. But going back to the conference, um, as a conference as a whole, and I'm not just talking about Ohio University, I'm talking about everybody involved. Ball State University, Miami of Ohio, of course, um, all the other schools in Ohio, Kent State, Akron, Bowling Green, Toledo, all of them, Michigan schools, all of you guys, listen up because this is something that I'm pitching to you guys right now. Hopefully, you guys, other Mac fans, can pitch in with comments down below in response to this. Let's start with this blue box here. A, private capital investments, not equity. Now, we've been hearing a lot of chatter lately about private capital investments. You hear it all the time with the Big Ten right now with what they're trying to do with their conference. We have to do something, excuse me, we have to do something along those lines as well, to a much smaller scale, of course. But for the MAC, we have to have some sort of private capital presence for investments, and I'm not sure where that's going to come from. I don't know where that's going to come from. And I don't mean equity because those are two different things. Equity means that you owe these firms something. Capital is different. You don't owe. You don't have an obligation to pay anything back. Just so you guys know. B, ask yourselves, Mid American Conference leadership here, ask yourselves, can we keep doing Tuesday, Wednesday night MACtion games long term? in parentheses in red, I say no. I say no. I have my reasons for that. Money is a big factor here. I mean, look at the graph. It's really appalling what I'm seeing here. 725.07 million dollars. That's just really sad. Really sad what I'm seeing here as far as expenses go. Excess transfers back. It amounted to 289, 90 million, something like that. Just really sad. But if we're losing money like this, as a conference, we have to do something different. And a big part of that was the ticket sales. Um, I don't like where we're headed. I do not like where we're headed concerning MACtion, midweek MACtion. I don't think it's going to be sustainable long term. As a novelty, like I said, and I've said this before when I was a guest on Ball State of the Union leading up to the Ball State game. Um, as a novelty, initially, it was great. Don't get me wrong. And it still is. But economically speaking, is it making progress for you? Is it helping you out? I just believe the answer is no at this point. Um, so we have to change it up. And I know you're not going to get rid of these Tuesday, Wednesday night games automatically. We're still tied to this media rights deal with ESPN Plus until 2027. But I'm hoping behind closed doors, Mac leadership, they're considering making changes here soon. And they're going to have to do it soon if they're going to start making money. So that leads into this. C, find a sports media partner that will give you Thursday, Friday night time slots. And if that's not ESPN, then find someone else. It's that simple. I'm not going to go into it so much into depth here, but that's the bread and butter of it. If ESPN is not going to give you Thursday, Friday night time slots more often, then you got to find somebody else for a sports media partner. That's just it. D, expand your online slash social media presence. People need to know you're active. Now, I do think in recent years the Mac has done a slightly better job of that. I do think they're trying to step it up with their social media presence. I mean, I see it all the time on Instagram, for example. But yeah, you have to start finding creative ways to expand your presence on social media, wherever it is. Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, even though I want nothing to do with that. But yeah, you have to expand your presence online, social media. Just have to do it. You have to get the word out about what you're doing as a conference for any sport. And then lastly, E, invest in international expansion. And this is something that I have to uh, note, especially because I've noticed in recent years that some schools are just, and conferences in general, they're just getting into this international expansion. In parentheses here, recruiting of players, playing games overseas, international broadcasting. In parentheses again, look at what the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, Big 12, the Power Four are doing. Just look at what they're doing. They're scheduling games overseas. They want to make money overseas. They want to expand their footprint out to other audiences, other football fans that are not living in America. It's happening. Whether or not we want to see that happen, guys, it's going to happen. And even though Central Michigan had their game against Michigan canceled for next year in Germany, that's going to be in Ann Arbor after all. But the point is that there has to be a consideration for the MAC to get some of their schools active, internationally speaking, whether that is Germany or some other country. You can play a game overseas. And specifically, when it comes to Ohio University, I'm hoping that we consider expanding our footprint to certain countries like Japan, for example. I'm really warming up to that idea, having a having a presence in Japan. Even though that would be tricky because of an interview I had with Greg St. James back in the day. He said that there's not a lot going on there, but I do think it would be great, it'd be wise for any MAC school to do that. Why wouldn't you at this point? Look at the guy, the kicker for Hawaii. His name is escaping me right now, but the kicker from Hawaii, he's having a good season right now. He's getting things done for Hawaii. Shout out to him. But that's my point. You got to invest in some of these players that are in other countries, and we already have our own story with the Ohio Bobcats. Duncan Brune, I keep talking about him, running back. He came from Germany. There we go. That's one good example there. If you can get more guys like Duncan Brune, no matter where they're from, you're making a good investment. And as the MAC in general, playing games overseas is wise. Having international broadcasting groups dedicated to being based in these other countries, and bringing them over ever so often to help you out with broadcasting, reporting about the games, why wouldn't you do it? So certain things like that you can do to expand your profile to get your name out there as a conference that I'm hoping the MAC will consider doing. And that's just, and this is not all of what I'm thinking about. I'm just limiting it to these things. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all this. Take MACtion, find new business strategies. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please utilize the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. I want to read your comments. And like I said before in the beginning, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe, click the notification bell so you can get updates. And yes, also utilize Telby, Bobcat Corner, Speak Up. I want to start hearing topics being pitched. Thank you guys so much for listening to Bobcat Corner, episode number 71. This is Stephen Vitz reporting, and I'll be back with more college football related content. Take care, guys.